Harper with a mic to machete. Aldreama Harper, she ready and steady. Organized planner with a plan, never petty. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. I am here today with one of my favorite peeps. I don't do a lot of in-person meetups, but just happened to have met in person, and she's such an amazing entrepreneur, and she happens to be one of my favorite clients. I just love on her so much. And
Mhm.
so I'm excited today to introduce her to you. And so let me go ahead and read a little bit of her bio, and we're gonna just kind of have a little bit of a conversation. So today I'm talking with Doris B, and so she's here in the Dallas Metroplex area. So Doris B provides a product and a service. And so her product is casual and active apparel for women that help them dress and flow through the day in comfort and style with minimal effort. And she says, our service includes a podcast and lifestyle blog that inspires and informs women to use uncomplicated strategies in their approach to life. And I so love that so much because we all kind of tend to overcomplicate things. I know I do sometimes. We overthink it, we overcomplicate things. I want to allow you, of course, to introduce yourself, but I want to talk about how you got started in the product space with your casual and active apparel for women. Because I don't know about anybody else that's watching. I am a casual kind of gal. Like if I have to dress up, it's always complicated for me.
I know you've got to match the shoes with the purse, with the hair, with the jewelry, and all
Yeah,
of that.
all
So it
that
does
stuff.
tend to get overwhelming if that's not the
Yeah.
style of dress you like.
No, not anymore. I in
Yeah.
corporate America, I used to have to wear pantyhose and
Hmm.
heels, and that was back in the 90s and things like that. And so as soon as I was out of the corporate world, I ditched those pantyhose. I haven't worn pantyhose since.
I know in
So,
the below knee skirts and
oh
all
my
that, you had to
gosh.
do that. You had to be appropriate in the 90s. It's
Yeah.
corporate world, and everybody whispered and walked down the
Yeah.
halls and they
Oh
whispered.
my gosh.
So, oh,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, Doris, just, for those who this may be their first time interacting with you or seeing you or meeting you and things like that, go ahead, and just, share a little bit about yourself. And then I want to kind of dive into how you got started in the active apparel wear for women.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here and inviting me in to your listening audience. And I hope that this proves beneficial and insightful to your listeners. But the way I got started was as a busy mom, moved to a new city, didn't know anyone, kids, school age kids, not even school age at the time, didn't know anyone, previous army wife, but she was used to working and having family around and people that I could, you know, trust and rely on. Now it all fell on me.
Mm,
And being a military wife, you still kind of had to do for yourself because you moved around a lot and you didn't, it was up to you to get started. So, being that and not having someone to watch your kids
oh,
and
yeah.
still wanting to be in the workplace, workforce and do my own thing
Yeah.
as a proud woman that,
Yes.
wanted to earn her place and earn her position and achieve. So I started businesses and small kids and PTA and soccer and all this. But you had to change outfits about 5 times a day. You drop the kids off, right? You can't look baggy and saggy in any old clothes. So you had your outfit for that. Then maybe you had to go to the store and shop. And then maybe you got a workout in. Then you tried to do business on the side. And that just got to be overwhelming. So I couldn't find clothes. And I had come from that corporate world. I
Mhm.
had come from that corporate world and everything was just so, but being a busy mom, you just can't do that anymore,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially when you're a stay at home mom, which is what I became.
Yeah.
And so I needed something that was going to help me transition through my day without too much effort, too much fuss, uncomplicated as much as possible. Clothes that could be layered and comfortable was the key. Had to be comfortable and had to be able to work in different situations. And so that's really the purpose behind the brand Commit.
Mhm.
And I, of course, woman that I am that was used to doing things, I had no idea how to sew. I mean, I started
Mhm.
my business, I couldn't even sew a pillowcase. But if you want something done, you just got to get it done. And that's what I learned how to sew. I learned how to source fabrics. I learned the business from the ground up.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was something that women could benefit from because I know there's a whole demographic out there that's feeling still.
Yeah.
And this has been many years ago that I started this, but I know there's people out there now that's still doing that juggling and struggling and trying to get out the door and look good and do all those things. So I hope my brand can help women transition through the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So so I remember, so what I didn't know until we met, in person was that you were like an army wife. And so I don't know what that is like, but I can imagine that, and I know people who are, army wives as they call them, right? That's what they
Mm-hmm.
call army wife. So you're going from place to place,
You
you're
you cry
moving.
when you leave and you cry when you go
Wow.
because you make friends. You hate to leave your friends, and then you go to a new place. You make friends, and then you cry again when you have to leave. Being a military wife made me stronger.
Yeah.
It made me stronger because I had to rely on me. I
Right.
had to. Your husband's all set. He's got his orders. He's gonna be doing this during the day. But now it's up to the spouse to get things going, set up a household, make new friends, learn the ropes of a new place and a new space.
Yeah.
And it just got to be, you know, it could, for me personally, and I always say this, after I'm not a military wife anymore,
Right.
but I continue with those same super self sufficiency traits
Yeah.
that I had to do everything and I didn't have anybody kind of else to rely on. So that can be, that can complicate your life as well.
Right.
That's
Right.
part of the blog and the podcast message about,
Mhm.
you know, stop doing everything yourself, ask for help and all those things. So being a military wife gave me strength and resiliency and taught me how to rely on my own resources and get out there and do all I have to do. But on the downside, it kind of, you kind of get isolated and you don't you don't rely on other resources that are out there readily for you
Yeah.
that you can take advantage of. So
Yeah.
that's my two
Yeah.
cents. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and one of the reasons that y- again, I can't relate as an army wife, but what I can relate to, so for me as a child, moving traumatized me. Like when we
Um,
I w- so I
it
was
traumatized you.
Yeah, it was like, so and so I was raised as an only child, right? So that's one part of it. So I was, real I became attached to my friends and things like that. But the other side of that for me that I believe that I can relate with, was that with you is that I was being raised as an only child taught me to be very self-sufficient, and I can entertain myself, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so didn't make sense to other people, like, well, what are you doing? Oh, I'm having fun, in my
Because you were just fine.
that
Yeah.
was just fine. And so I just felt like, I can relate from that perspective what it's like, to um have to adjust, to
Mm-hmm.
those type of things. Now, again, my parents, we only moved growing up. We only moved maybe once or twice. I think twice. We
Mm-hmm.
moved within the city, a couple of times, and then we moved from, one state. So, but for me, every time they even talked about, like my dad, talked about it, he was like, well, I'm considering, moving. I was like, oh no, no, but
Oh, I
yeah.
know. And the same here when my husband got his orders, and you're just getting, I worked, I had a outside the home job,
Mm-hmm.
and you think you're getting your career going, and now you got to move, and you lose whatever seniority you had, and you have to start over, and things like that for women in the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
That can be an issue too if you're a military wife, and I'm
That's
sure. And then your husband, maybe if your husband's deployed somewhere and you're not, and
right.
you have to run the household, and then they come back, and then you've got two adults trying to manage, trying to parent and
Yeah.
so you got to work all that out. So there's a lot of complications, but there's the positive too, like you said. You
Yeah.
become self sufficient, you're
Yeah.
able to entertain yourself, you become self reliant,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you have kids, but my kids saw that, how to, they're the role model that I hopefully provided that
Right.
they could draw from as they get older and
Yeah.
have to navigate the world. So it's
Yeah.
always good and bad. It always works out.
It always works out. And so, so no, we don't have any children. My husband doesn't have any, children before we got married or, anything like that. So, and we don't have any children. And so, we got married a little bit later in
Mm-hmm.
life. And so I was like 39 years old. And so the biological clock had already started ticking.
Mm-hmm.
And so we weren't able to, have children. And so, you know, but it's
It's
okay. It's
fine.
okay because
Yeah,
I
that's
have nieces and nephews, and when I get tired,
there you go.
I come back. I can,
There you go. Because you can't. You can always give them back. You can
I can
always
always
send
give
them
them
on their
back.
way.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, so it's really. I mean, I love the fact that even in talking about let's talk back about your apparel. Because I
Okay.
really want to kind of dive into that, and I know it's for comfort, and I get it, why, because now in the time that we're in now, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are working from home. They're doing things like what we do, started their own business and things like that, and so for me, I can tell you, and I'm sure I said it, at the onset, comfort, like it's like
Key.
after, I don't know, it might have been after 50, but more so in my 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Comfort over everything.
Everything. Yeah. You've
Over
just kind
everything.
of had it with the constricting,
Yeah.
binding, clothes, and you just it's just not that important anymore. It's to be trendy, and it's important to be trendy and stylish because the clothes are comfort and style.
Hmm.
I'm not presenting any kind of just dowdy. I'm not
Right.
promoting like a dowdy look. I'm promoting just comfort in the fabric types, in
Yeah.
the stitchings that we provide, in the quality of the fabrics, the care that we take with putting the piece together so that you're not just buying a trendy piece
Right.
that's sewn any kind of a way and then, it starts to fall apart after two washings or after two wearings. So
Yeah.
the quality is part of the comfort because you
Yeah.
don't have to worry about. And the one thing that I really hate is when I put on a pair of pants or a pair of leggings or anything and the seams start to pop.
Oh,
So you've got to use the right type of
yeah.
thread in the product. You might be able to buy a pair of leggings for $9.99, but how is it constructed?
Right.
How's it constructed? So I pay attention to all those details in my apparel. Get the right thread, the right machines to sew them on the right fabric. Is the fabric color fast? Is it going to peel? Those types of things go into what we call the quality control
Yeah.
of designing a garment. So it's just not, it's got to look pretty,
Yeah.
But it's got to be well made and it's got to fit as
Yeah.
well to
Yeah.
be comfortable.
Right. Right. And so, and because I know you said that you had to learn all of this yourself.
Hmm.
Like, what did you? So, like today, we can go on YouTube and figure out a lot of stuff, right?
Right, right.
So,
Yeah,
what did
but
you do?
yeah, I had to start finding the resources. Dallas, I'm in Dallas, so they have an apparel mart, the World Trade Center, and they would have the fabric shows and the apparel marts, and that's where I would go to get samples and books and resources and fabric to do my research. I would go to the show in Vegas and do my research. So it was just a lot of research and
Yeah.
trial and error.
Yeah.
I mean, you spend a lot of in product development, just takes a while. So it was no YouTube, like you said. You
Yeah.
had to teach yourself how to do these things, which I like to know what it's supposed to be, what something's supposed to be, rather than just giving it to maybe outsourcing, of course,
Yeah.
but you have to know what it should be.
Right.
So I enjoy learning.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind doing the deep dive into anything that I undertake.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
that's just the way my background, my mind kind of worked. So, but again, it was just time and effort in putting
Resilience
in the
and
work.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and so even before, you know, learning how to sew, so was there anybody in your family, that knew how to sew or so,
I used to, my background is very humble. And so my mother would, I never will forget, she would have maybe some fabric, let's just say a sheet,
Mhm.
okay? And we needed curtains. So she would say, okay, you hold this in, and we would stretch it tight, and she would cut the sheet in half, and then she'd sew a top, and that would be our curtains.
Right.
Or if, say, for instance, Christmas came around and we didn't have a Christmas tree, okay,
Mm.
she would go outside, she would cut a tree, a hedge, or something, bring it
Wow.
in, decorate it. So I got that kind of use what you have, what you know, kind of, figure it out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I got that from her. But yeah, sewing, I got from her. I think it came from her making covers for this and curtains and things like that, all
Yeah.
hand sewn.
Yeah.
But that's what I saw. So just that,
Wow.
just that you got to do it. Resource, if you don't have it, find a way, make a
Right.
way, go in the back door, go down the chimney, just get it done.
Yeah, yeah. And what I love about that, because what it speaks to, because so I know how to sew,
Hmm.
I can't stand it. I
Yeah.
just sew and
What?
make my stuff, and the worst part I hate cutting out patterns.
Oh, I love that because it's a puzzle and you put it together and you
I
say,
wish I
okay,
did.
maybe it's not as cute as I thought it was, but you did it.
Yeah, yeah,
You've done it and then move on to the next. I don't
yeah.
mind that.
Yeah, and that's I mean that's awesome. I mean, you have to love all the different intricate things about
The
uh the creative process and then the end product. Now for
mm-hmm.
me, I loved the end product. I did not like doing the
Doing
stuff.
the work. And now we make the samples and we perfect those, but then we send it out.
Mhm.
They can cut 500 pieces at
Yeah,
one time, automatic cutters and things like that. So a lot of the piece by piece stuff,
yeah,
cutting, model, making the patterns, getting it right. And a lot of that stuff is automatic now. I mean, you used to have to make patterns by hand. Now they have virtual software where you can make it and try it on the model and see how it fits and play
wow.
around with color and everything like that. So
Mm,
it's not as tedious, but you still
not
have to know what it's
you
supposed to
well,
be.
right. Yeah.
You
Yeah, you
still
gotta
have
know
to,
those things.
you got to know. So,
So did you know that that's what you would be doing as a part of your career at any point?
No, I know because I have a degree in my degree is in science. I have a bachelor of science in medical technology and a minor in chemistry. So I worked in a clinical laboratory, all kind of science, always solving for X. I'm
Yeah.
always curious.
Yeah.
What is it? If we do this, what is it going to do? How do you make things work? Solving. So
Yeah.
that's chemistry. That's the science part
Yeah.
in me. So I don't mind doing the parts and seeing what the outcome is going to be. Okay, I've solved for X.
Yeah.
So either that's sewing, that's either podcasting, you figured it out, now you solved for X, right?
Right.
So just creative. So sewing is just another part
That's
of
another,
my
yeah, a part of your
DNA.
expression and your gifting and all
Mm,
that stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So I know you have products. Do you want to talk a little bit about, where people can purchase your products, or
sure.
please feel
Well,
free to share that.
yes, you can purchase them on my website at www.commitsport.com. I do have leggings and biker shorts. I created a pair of chafe-free biker shorts that Walmart picked up. So you can go online at Walmart and look for Commit Ladies Color Block Leggings
Mm.
or Commit Chafe Friction Free. I
Mhm.
call them friction free biker shorts. So you can find those products on my website and it's on Walmart.com's website as well.
Oh, I so
Thank you for that.
oh, absolutely, absolutely, because we want to be comfortable,
Hmm.
in our spaces, and as we move about and things like that. And so I am definitely happy to share that. And for those who are listening and watching, those links to her website, and where you can make those purchases will be in the show notes. So just make sure that you click on the links and go and make your purchases accordingly.
Yes.
So I love that. So you have products. You also do a podcast. So
Hmm.
let's talk about commit. And by the way, for those who, I need to make sure that they understand how commit is spelled. So let's
Yes.
talk about how you got to that point of launching your podcast, and the whole theme around commit, and how you came up with the name and things like that. Let's talk about that journey.
Okay. Well, the name Commit came about because, again, whatever you do, you have to commit to it, right? You have to start, do the middle part and finish. Might not like the middle part, but you got to finish, right? So that's at the heart of me. Finish what you start. So commit. And commit also means to dedicate. Once you say, I'm going to do something, you focus in on it and you get it done, right? So commitment, devotion, all those things kind of tie in with my personality. So that's how, and I spell it with a K because why not? So
Why not?
commit, Kamit,
Yeah.
is how I spell it. So that's why I named it Commit.
Mhm.
And then as far as the podcast, I wrote a book called The Four Commit Codes, which to me, helped me resolve a lot of the issues about being a military wife and how now to structure my life and what I need to feel in balance, what I need to feel like I'm caring for myself, self care, and joy, all those things that are important,
Mhm.
I feel, to living. So the commit for codes was take care of yourself first, uh, create harmony, give back and share, and always keep reaching. And so, of those four commit codes, I said, maybe I can use a podcast too to further that.
Mhm.
And that's how the podcast got started because I was looking for ways to kind of uncomplicate, settle down, uncomplicate my life, have a little harmony, a little balance, a little, more balance. And that's how the podcast came about. And I find that if you can, as much as you can, uncomplicate your life,
Mhm.
really assess what you need to be happy,
Mhm.
not what everybody else says you need to be happy. And once you find out what you need, what makes you happy, for me, it's working out, it's reading, it's spiritual things.
Mhm.
And I know once I get off balance, if I go back to that, then I get back more to myself. And then I start, okay, uncomplicating myself again, extricating myself from all the things that got caught up. Like everybody, you get
Yeah.
caught up, right? Before you know it, you get caught up in this and that, and then you get off balance. But if you know what you need for self-care, you get back to that, and I settle down.
Yeah.
So that's what the Uncomplicated podcast is all about.
Yeah. 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 I so love that. I so love it. So that kind of speaks to, the purpose for doing what you do, whether it's the products, that you sell,
Mm-hmm.
the book that you've written. Have you written more than one book? Another book
No,
that I don't know about?
no, that's it. The four
Okay.
commit codes.
Okay. Is there another book that's coming out that I
It's
need to know
coming
about?
out, yes.
Okay, okay. I kind of thought that. I kind of thought that. And so the podcast and the book and the
The
purpose in
codes.
doing, for the purpose for doing what you do. So
Yeah.
you shared, anything else, along those that you
Just,
shared.
I'm hoping that it makes sense because I think just the word commit
Hmm.
helps ground me, and I guess I'll have to do a deeper dive as to why
Yeah.
commitment is so important to me, to my soul, or
Yeah.
what's going on with that. But it's important to me
Yeah.
to do what I'm going to say I'm going to do,
Yeah.
get in there and get it done. Sort of no whining kind of person. Yeah, a little bit,
Yeah. She said a
scream
little
5
bit.
minutes and then get back in there.
Right.
And so, yeah, get
Yeah.
it done,
Yeah.
commit, get it
Yeah. Just
done,
commit to it and
but,
get it done.
but uncomplicated. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be, this big hoota big production.
Yeah.
Stay true to yourself, commit to yourself.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you do talk a lot about that on your podcast. So, the listeners who will go to your podcast will be able to find out, more on what that, because you explain a lot of, what that means.
Means,
And so
yeah.
I encouraged, the listeners and people who are watching to actually go to the podcast to get, where she really dives deeper into the meaning and the purpose behind what commit is like and all that. So another question that I have, so how has that changed for you over the years? And maybe you talked about it, and but
It
let's kind of
just
explore it.
I would say I'm more myself, just experience will give you more of a sense of who you are and what you like and what needs to go and what needs to stay. And I'm trying to live at this point with no regrets.
Yeah.
I one of my podcasts I talk about, if 5 years from now someone would ask me, is there one thing I wish I had done that I haven't done?
Hmm.
So I'm trying at this point to commit to having no regrets, to living authentically, I guess.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, maybe I had goals to, the reason behind creating the brand of clothing. Yeah, I wanted to feel good and have clothes to wear, but I also wanted to make that $1,000,000, to be successful,
Of
right?
course.
Nothing wrong with that at
There's
all. But
absolutely nothing wrong with
but I know now that the journey of doing what I did and learning and passing wisdom on to other young entrepreneurs. It's more now for me about giving and
it.
sharing that commit code 3 about giving back and sharing, because now I know that's better
Yeah.
than, than keeping it all in. And
Yeah.
so I'm willing to share a lot more, give a lot more. Um, so yeah, all those just on balance, I
Mhm.
think over the years that's changed to more of give more, share more.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always going to always turn out okay. Before I used to worry, is it going to work? Is this and that? But now it's just okay. Everything's I always worked out before. It's going
Yeah.
to work out again.
Yeah.
Don't stress so much. Commit, but let it go. Still
Yeah.
commit, but let it go.
Yeah. Because I have found that, even in what you just said about, it's all gonna work out. Because and I say this because I know that has been a part of my personality, is that sometimes when I start something, if I don't see some results quickly, I want to stop
Mhm.
and switch. That don't work. That don't work very well.
Well, maybe you know yourself well enough to say, this is not what I truly want to do. Because I think, a dreamer, that if you meant to do something, it's going to get done.
Yeah,
Somehow, it may be 5 years from now, 10 years
yeah,
from now.
yeah, yeah,
So don't discount what you learn along the way,
yeah, and
you
that is
know?
so true. And because sometimes it really is, you know. So I believe that, in what the scripture says, that all things work together,
For the good
right?
of, yeah.
Yeah, for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And so even if we don't think it's something that's working, it's still working.
Yes, ma'am.
I heard somebody say, and it's one it's an online mentor, he doesn't know he's my mentor. But
I got a lot of those.
yeah, right? I know, right? It's either working on you or it's working on the thing that it's working on.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that has been so powerful for me
Yes.
because, you know,
That's
I may
great.
be working on something and I'm like, man, this is just not working. It's just not working. But it's building up something in me, either strength or courage or something
Yes.
internal, or, something for
Yes.
me to stay committed to.
Yes.
you
Yes,
know?
you
And
got it.
so and
Resilience
so
is
yeah,
building that character that
character.
now you know how what won't work, as Edison would say. Now I know 50 ways the light bulb won't work.
There
So
we
I
go.
keep, but I keep going. I
There we go.
keep going.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
sometimes we say stuff to ourselves that we wish we had, we
yeah,
think things and hard on ourselves, and
we are.
maybe shouldn't be so much.
Yeah, I think we're a lot of times we're our own worst critic, and we don't give ourselves a lot of credit. And
So
um
stop it.
just stop it. Like Bob Newhart used to say, I don't know if you ever watched that show long years ago. He was just like, stop it.
Stop it. Quit.
Quit. Just quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just stop
So
it.
do
But
you
it's,
think,
yeah, I see
I'm
you
sorry,
get
go
your
ahead.
mind gets in that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
get it.
And so it's that's the two words that I want everybody to take away from this, stop it. If that's you, stop it. Okay. So
Yes.
another question. So do you think women can have it all?
I do, if you define your all.
Ooh, that's so
And then
good.
you've got to get to that point where, somebody told me this, and it was humbling, but it's true. People think less about you than you think they do. They don't have time to think about you. So why do you worry about what they think? They don't think about you. They don't care enough.
I love it.
So you get to define your all.
Yeah,
Yes, I say yes 100% if you define your all. What
yeah.
does that look like for you? And if you're living it, then yes, you can have it all.
I
But you
love
have to
it.
define it.
You have to define it. Oh my gosh. That is, I mean, if if you haven't heard anything else, because I've heard that question before, where asked, maybe in other interviews and things like that, do you think, women can have it all, but I've never heard it answered that way,
Oh, yeah.
defining your all.
Yeah, you. Well, who else is gonna
Yeah.
but you have to get there. I get it,
Yeah.
you have to it may take a while to get there
Yeah.
that I the boss here. I could say.
Yeah.
I get to say what all looks like for
What all
me.
looks like. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's Dreamer is the part of commit code 1, take care of yourself first, because that code in that book is going to allow you to do a deep dive. It's like a self-discovery of really what you like and don't like and
Hmm.
what works for you. And then once you get that down pat, then it becomes a little more clear,
Yeah.
what your all looks like and should feel like to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So I gotta, I definitely gotta go and purchase your book because, um, and I should have done this before the interview.
That's okay. I should have sent you one. I should have gave you one when we had our meeting.
Yeah.
I
But
didn't.
because these are so these are these principles and these tips and these nuggets that you're giving are so powerful. And sometimes,
Thank you.
we don't get it until, we're later on.
Mhm.
I didn't think about stuff like that when I was younger. I don't know about you, but I didn't think
I
about
I didn't. I was busy, striving and, family, kids,
Yeah,
spouse, working, and really, it's hard to have a lot of self-reflection
that's
when
true.
you're in the thick of,
That is
living day to day. It's really hard.
that
So
is true.
I get why it's challenging
Yeah,
to
yeah,
take a stock,
yeah.
you know.
And I'm glad you said that too, because, even now, it, it's a priority for me to do some self-reflecting.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know about you, but I commit to taking the time to do self-reflecting.
Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important because I don't know if anyone out there can relate to this, but when I was really striving and flying around and doing this and that and trying to do everything on my own, that military mindset again,
Hmm.
life mindset again. I ha- I happened to look at my face in the mirror and I couldn't put the stuff that I was doing with the face. I
Mm.
couldn't recognize myself.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, who is this girl that
Wow.
I'm looking at in the mirror? Because I was just on remote. I
Mm.
felt like I was on remote and I wasn't grounded in me. I was
Mm.
doing stuff, getting stuff
Yeah.
done, I was doing the thing, living
Yeah.
the life, but so try looking at yourself in the mirror, I would say,
Yeah.
and see if you recognize yourself.
Oh, that's good. That is really good. Because
Mhm.
if you don't recognize your, if you look in the mirror and not recognize yourself, something is off.
Something is off inside. You can't connect the person that that wrote this, I'm doing that with the face.
Right.
That was a little frightening to me. So
Wow.
that forces you to think. It
Yeah.
does something. I don't know what it'll do for the audience, but maybe it'll force you to slow down and self reflect
Yeah.
like it did me.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is so powerful. That is so powerful. So as we begin to kind of wrap this up, I wanted to um, answer a question that you had for me.
Oh, okay.
So
Yes.
you asked me, what inspired me to help podcasters grow their business,
Yes.
and
Yes.
how have I grown from the stories I hear from my audience. So there's so much in that. I did not know that, because I've done, several things. I've, had several types of businesses. As you know, I had an organizing business, and even before that, I did bookkeeping. I was doing a lot of stuff, right?
Mhm.
And so, but I also knew after having been told one time this, I used to call into this radio station, and this one radio announcer, I would call every Monday because I was calling the request line. And so the radio announcer started recognizing my voice. He was like, "Hey, Aldreama, I knew you were going to call. It's Monday morning. You wanted that song." And it was always the same song, Automatic by the, I forgot, I can't remember the name of them right now. It just
Pointer
kind of slipped my
Sisters,
mind.
maybe
Pointer
no.
Sisters, yeah.
Mhm.
I used to love that song. That would just jumpstart my morning, my Monday morning. And so, anyway, so he said, by the way, he said, have you ever considered, doing or being in this type of industry? Now, he was talking about, radio announcing, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, no, I've never, considered that. And so, but he was the first person that ever told me that, but it never left. That was
Mm.
back in the 80s.
Oh,
And so,
wow.
and that never left. And we're connected on Facebook. We're still connected on Facebook. And so that never left. So I kind of knew something was there because it never went away. Now it wasn't in the form of podcasting per se, because podcasting came along, later. It wasn't, back then, um but when I think about how people can use leverage podcasting to grow their business, that's like
Mm.
a whole nother different kind of thing, because
Right.
the thing that podcasting does, in my opinion, it helps you to kind of be yourself, and I knew that in podcasting, once I started doing it, back in 2013, once I started doing it, it felt like that was like a missing piece of the puzzle.
Oh, wow. Is that right? It
And
hit you in the
so it
gut.
just kinda hit me. Now, and so just like we were just saying, all things work together. I've done, different things, organizing. I felt the same way, but it was like organizing and, kind of touches a different area of my gifting. Is like that administration gift. I believe that God has given me, the
Mhm.
gift of administration. So I get to express that through helping people to get organized, right?
Yeah.
But I also get to express the gift that God has given me through my voice.
Voice, because you do have a radio
Well,
voice.
thank you. Thank you. And so, but like I said, when he told me that, that never went away. Now, I'm not the only person in this world that has a good voice. I know other people, and it may not be this. In other words, the power that podcasting has to help you grow your business, that like takes things to a whole new level,
Mhm. Yes, exactly.
because you can talk about your business, you can talk about whatever. There's so many different areas of podcasting that that's out there, but I'm passionate about business,
Mhm.
and I'm passionate about podcasting
Yeah, an
and
organization which businesses
organization.
need and
So it just seemed like it was just a sweet, you know, connection. And I
mhm.
and so I like helping particularly women, um to be able to find that voice to
There
help them
that is
speak
so
about the
good.
things that they're passionate about.
That is so good. Find their voice.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love that
yeah. And
because it's women speaking for myself, it's
yeah,
hard to do. I mean,
yeah.
it's you because it's just hard to do. So I
Well,
love that.
yeah, yeah. And when I think about the fact that it's, the gift of communication,
There
the
you
gift
go.
of art, being able to articulate something, because when we think about it, that's how God created the world. It was through speaking. He spoke it into
To
existence. Now we
existence.
can't speak things into existence from nothing, but God can.
Yeah.
And so But if you notice, that's the first thing that he did. He spoke
Spoke it.
that into existence. That speaks to the power of communication.
Communications, that's right. And yeah, that's so true. If you can communicate effectively,
Yeah,
especially in business,
yeah, yeah,
that helps
yeah,
goes a long way.
yeah,
And women, I think women in business, especially women, need that
yeah,
encouragement,
yeah.
need that level of um, reinforcement,
Hmm.
you know, that you can have a voice. You should have a voice.
Yeah,
It's okay to have
yeah.
a
It's
voice.
okay. Yeah,
It's all of those things because that
absolutely.
just kind of in this society, let's face it,
Yeah,
doesn't happen automatically, not encouraged automatically.
right.
So I
Exactly.
love that.
So yeah. So that is
That is,
that is one of the reasons, and I'm so glad you asked me that question because I don't know that I ever thought about it in that context.
mhm.
So I'm so glad, thank you for asking me, that question. So you've worked with me in terms
Yes,
of podcasting. And
yes.
so my question to you for the sake of the audience, what
Mm.
has been your experience in working with me?
It has been relaxing, effortless, informative. She's very patient with you, I have to say, which is hard to find nowadays when you're coming in and you don't know a whole lot about the industry, and you know and you want somebody that listens. She
Mm,
listens, and
wow.
then she helps you out. See,
Mm,
and I think that's unique to her
mm,
from a lot of the, because I did have another person helping me with my podcast, but they were like, do this, do that,
mhm,
hurry up. They change it around. And I didn't like that
mm.
because I like to know, feel comfortable. Like I said, I need to know what I need to know, what I'm supposed to know.
Right.
So help me
Right.
know what I'm supposed to know. Then I'll know if I'm getting what I,
Right.
you know what I mean? And so it's
Yeah.
very important to me for someone to take the time to explain
Yeah.
in a way that I can understand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's exactly what I would say to your audience out there if they're new to podcasting or not new to podcasting, or want to try someone that has the information, the skill, and the knowledge, and the empathy and the patience
Oh, wow.
to help you out. Then
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for
yes.
that. I really appreciate that, Doris.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, what are some things that we're going to close out, but what are some things that you're working on, or anything that you want to share with the audience as, a closing comment, or anything that you want to share with the audience?
I'm just working on my new fall line, my
Okay.
line for fall 2025, winter 2025, and spring 2026
Oh, wow.
apparel line. Um, Writing another book,
Right.
and just trying to be more mindful and
Mm,
letting things roll off my back, just
yeah.
taking it easy,
Yeah.
having it all but my way.
Oh, I just love it. Listen, that is the best way to close out this segment. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Doris. I so appreciate you, and I'm so glad that we got to meet and work together on your podcast. And so I'm looking forward to everything that you are continuing to do. And I thank you most of all for allowing me to be a part of your journey.
Oh, and I'm thankful that you are a part of my journey. I
So,
really am. It's hard to find people that you connect with these days, and I feel like, I've friendly, open, calming, uncomplicated like me. So
uncomplicated.
uncomplicated spirit to one uncomplicated spirit to another.
Yeah.
So
Thank you so much,
thank
Doris.
you.
So everyone, as I said before, everything is going to be all the information to contact Doris B. Listen to her podcast, buy her book, go to her website, purchase her products, all things Doris B. Okay. So make sure that you check her out, check it out, and I look so forward to the next time when she has launched that fall line and that book. And so we're going to have more to talk about. Thank you all for joining me today on the podcast, Organizedpreneur Podcast Launchpad, where we help entrepreneurs to launch a podcast that serves their business. And so until next time, I will see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining me.